The devastating flood swept through Japan, submerging an entire region in a raging sea of water. Torrential rains poured relentlessly, causing rivers to overflow and breach their banks. In the blink of an eye, the town was swallowed whole, with floodwaters rushing through streets and engulfing houses. In many areas, the water had risen above rooftops, leaving only lonely peaks visible amidst the vast, silvery expanse. The raging flood swept everything away, leaving behind a heartbreaking scene of devastation. The once sturdy houses were now just broken pieces of wood, drifting aimlessly in the raging water. The walls that once sheltered countless memories had collapsed. The roofs that once held laughter were now just wooden planks floating in the raging waves. A catastrophic moment of a natural disaster, as raging floods or a tsunami engulf an entire region. The surging waters carry away countless fragments of houses, vehicles, and remnants of what was once a peaceful life. Homes are destroyed, metal roofs and shattered wooden beams drift chaotically in the murky currents. The sky in the distance seems to have cleared, but the aftermath of the disaster remains. Desolation, devastation, and the sorrow of those who have lost everything. In this moment, nature unveils its terrifying, destructive power. Thousands of cars were swept away in the raging floodwaters, spinning like tiny toys in the fury of nature. The murky currents relentlessly carried away vehicles that once cruised along the streets, now crashing into each other, slamming against utility poles and walls before slowly sinking into the violent whirlpools. The sound of metal colliding echoed through the vast expanse of water, like the chaotic symphony of destruction and devastation. One can feel the brutality of nature as the raging waves crash in, submerging an entire area in a furious sea of water. Even the once sturdy buildings now appear fragile against the destructive power of the flood. Water surges over rooftops, sweeping away everything in its path, from utility poles to fragments of structures. One can feel the ferocity of nature as the raging waves crash in, submerging an entire area in a furious sea of water. Even the once sturdy buildings now seem fragile against the destructive power of the flood. Water surges over rooftops, sweeping away everything in its path, from utility poles to fragments of structures. Huge waves crash onto the shore, carrying the furious power of nature. White foam sprays into the air, and the roaring sound of the waves echoes like a warning of the sea's intensity and harshness. Wave after wave relentlessly pounds the coast, sweeping away everything in its path. Only ruins, shattered homes, and streets buried in mud and floodwaters. A once peaceful landscape is now just the remnants of destruction, where nature has unleashed its fiercest wrath. Looking at this scene, no one can help but feel sorrow. Months and years of hard work reduced to rubble, cherished memories now existing only in the depths of recollection. The pitch-black floodwaters surge forward, carrying with them soil, rocks, trees, and everything in their path. Uprooted trees spun wildly in the raging currents, while the swirling mud and debris formed a dark, menacing mass. The water was no longer calm but churned violently like an enraged beast, swallowing everything in its fury. Amid this scene of devastation, humans could do nothing but stand helplessly and watch. From above, the raging floodwaters no longer resemble a river or an ordinary flood, but rather a massive swamp devouring everything in its path. The water is pitch black, thick with mud, churning violently with waves that carry trees, houses, and debris drifting aimlessly. From a distance, the scene looks like a colossal wound on the earth, where nature has unleashed its fury, turning everything into a vast expanse of chaos and devastation. The scene before them was truly horrifying. The floodwaters rose high, rushing fiercely and sweeping away everything in their path. In the midst of the raging currents, people trembled as they clung tightly to one another, struggling step by step to reach safety. Fear filled their eyes and desperate hands reached out to grasp each other amid the murky, swirling waters. The abandoned cars in the rising floodwaters became the only refuge, forcing people to climb onto them to avoid being swept away. As the water continued to rise, rooftops became their last hope, a place where they struggled to climb and cling on amid the vast, raging waters, waiting desperately for rescue. The flood roared as it rushed in, the wind howled violently, yet the people remained resilient, holding on to each other, using every last ounce of strength to fight for survival in the face of nature's relentless fury.